Hello, Capricorn. Welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor, and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. So, here we are again, Capricorn. We have the Hierophant. Also, you can think of the Hierophant as the initiator, the high priest, one who is devoted to their beliefs, their practices, their convictions, their philosophy, passions, these kinds of things. Now, we have the high priestess as well, and she is as elevated as the Hierophant, but the feminine, at least in the system, kind of operates more off of like intuition and things kind of naturally flowing and, kind of, you would think of like more low magic is how I kind of interpret it. But with the Hierophant, we have more of like the monk, right? We have this being, this person who finds something in life that is so important to them, that speaks to them, that they fully devote themselves to it. And it could it could also even be as extreme as like being cloistered, right? And what does that mean? That's like you go live at a monastery or something like, right? And you are separate from society in general, right? And usually it's a self-sufficient place. So they're like growing their own food. They have different things they're making to probably sell to make money for the congregation or the people who live there, nuns, monks, and so on. So that's like a real extreme version, right? Where you kind of are like, I'm out of here. I'm out of this city life. I'm out of this suburb life. I don't even want to live rural, right? I need to go live with others who are on a similar path than me, right? And then you have even like the things like the desert fathers, right? Or even the desert mothers. We don't talk about the desert mothers enough. But these are saints that went out to live in the desert to be with God, right? And that, how extreme the weather must have been. And, the scarcity of food and water, and it really is the greatest test I could imagine. And so that's maybe even a little bit more extreme. So anyways, we have this energy. And this is one that it is very serious. But it is one that has a doorway, if you could imagine. And look, actually, there's the star there. A doorway in your heart to the divine. And we'll see what these tea leaves are going to say. How are they going to kind of coincide with the card? Hair all over me. I love this sweater, but it just attracts every kind of hair. All right. So I want to say thank you for deciding to click on the reading. It's always such a honor and definitely a pleasure to be able to do these readings. Okay, let's see. So, we have, it looks like, quite a journey. Okay, so I want to start with this one. So we have a person down here, okay? You can see the head, the arms are kind of raised in this position. And then we have the lower body. It could be a robe or a dress. I'm going to read this as the mother archetype or the mother goddess. Okay, so this might be about your mother. It might be about a feminine caretaker, somebody who feels like a mom or a mom friend. It could be about you. It could. But I don't know yet. We're gonna keep going. So it seems to me that there were at least 2 marriages here. We have a ring here and we have a ring here. So maybe widowed and remarried, or divorced once and married again. But it seems important that there was something that really kind of sticks out to you about this. And maybe it is that, like, you know, your parents got divorced and that was very difficult, or, you know, maybe you had a somebody in your life who was kind of a serial monogamist, which is kind of like when you are in a relationship and when it ends, you're immediately in another very involved relationship, and kind of throughout your whole life, it just kind of keeps going this way, right? When one's done, a new one begins, and there's not a lot of time in between. So it could be something like this, right? Where it was almost kind of like fatiguing watching somebody in your life go from relationship to relationship, some good, some bad, but definitely I feel like there was, or is, kind of this deep, I almost imagine like an anger, maybe it is a hurt, within this person, because there's a lot of reasons probably, but I think one of the main things is that they haven't found their person, right? They've tried, and they are probably somewhat of a romantic, because they keep trying, right? But it just hasn't like clicked into place. So I feel like because of this preoccupation, if this was your mother, or a mother figure, or if this was maybe you while you were raising one of your children, or all of the children of your life, right? If you had one or more. And it could be that even if you didn't have children, you interact with your inner child. Okay, so that might be who is represented here. But we have a child over here. Okay, so we turn this, and you can see above the head, there's this kind of like connection between the two. I'm almost seeing like a shooting star and a star, and then here's the person. Well, if we turn it this way, I kind of almost feel like for you, or maybe this was your child, there was a sense of having to leave that life as soon as you could. Now we have the number 912, but I'm looking and I'm seeing we have dogs barking right here. Here's one here, and here's the head and the little legs and the body, and then we have over here the head and the body and so on, and then people back here kind of unleashing the dogs towards you. And this feels like, it almost feels like being pursued. It feels anxious, and like you are trying, you're in survival mode, trying to get away, right? Needing to have this separation so that you can break through into something else, because you know that the world isn't just as we perceive it through our family. Okay, so like, what does that mean? The way that we feel the world is very much affected by our family and the environment we live in, the things that we're taught, the you know, the fears, the triumphs, the proclivities, and so on and so forth. All of these things really build they build our world and how we view it and what we notice and what we don't notice and so on and so forth. So when you get to that age, and usually it is, you know, fairly young, maybe like puberty or a little bit older, you start to realize like maybe the way that we live isn't the only way. Maybe the way that like my parents feel about the world isn't the way that everybody feels about the world. And now I want to get out of this situation and I want to go out there and I want to see what's going on, right? What is happening beyond the walls of this garden, right? So I see you leaving. Now, I feel like it was a very contentious separation from family. So like if you went off to college or maybe, you know, I don't know, there was a time where people would just get married right out of high school or even when they're finishing high school just to get up out of their parents' house, right? So, I mean, it could be a situation like that, or maybe you just like saved your summer job money and as soon as you turned 18 you hit the road. You went looking for, you know, your big dream. You looked for a place of your own and begun the life that, you know, I don't know if you had even formed an idea of what you wanted, but I see this real brave young person in you. And now this could be that you had a child who decided they're going to go live in a different country for a while. They're going to travel, you know, by train across the, the Europe, or I'm trying to think, what is that? The Siberian Express? Is that what it's called? Trans-Siberian Railway. Yes. I want to go on that one. I really do. But whatever it was, if this is, you're in the position of the mother here and your child left, of course you wanted to, you know, reel her back in a little bit, or him. And I feel like there was a lot of fear and the separation was difficult and maybe kind of messy, you know, and I feel like maybe even if this was you as the mother and maybe you were being a little bit overbearing, maybe. You know, I feel like I struggle with this myself, letting go a little bit. I just feel like for you, it would have been something that it felt like a death, you know. And I think in retrospect, looking back, you realize that maybe you behaved a little selfishly because for you, this was an ending, but for your child, this was a beginning, right? A beginning of another part of their life. And, you know, as parents, of course, it's hard to, like feign support when you're really hurting. But that's part of our job to some degree, right? If that's right or wrong, I don't know. But yeah, so I feel like this is something, if this was you, the mother part, you know, that maybe you have spent some years trying to make up for. And I think, you know, that's something that all of us mothers and fathers and parental figures and caretakers, we do. We end up feeling like, oh, we made some mistakes. Maybe it's, maybe we should correct that a little bit. Or at least I know I have. My daughter is only 4 and I've made so many mistakes already. And I will have lots of things to try to correct, I'm sure. Okay, so we also have the Raggedy Ann doll. And I don't know. I don't know if it's the Raggedy Ann or the Raggedy Andy, but you can see the hair up here and then the eyes and the mouth and just kind of generally looks like a little doll. Now down here it looks like we have a person, eye, nose, mouth, beard. Okay? And they're looking this way. We have what looks like Batman right here. That's who I see, but it's Batman. We have two adults right here. We have an arrow with a rose. And then we have, it looks like two kids facing each other. We also have the Ace of Swords. And we have the number 616. So between the Raggedy Ann doll, where did we see that? Oh, over on this side. Between the Raggedy Ann doll and that Batman, I'm just looking at this right here. So I feel like there's a lot of emphasis on the childhood. And actually this one it looks like a child with a dog. And we have the swords everywhere. So I believe also we have the Taurus. So I believe that it must have been that the first part had to have been about your childhood, because then I feel like as you got older, it really was so stuck in your mind that you wanted to have a family that was intact, that you would do whatever you could to make that happen, to have a happy, easy childhood for your kids. And you know, of course, we all have those wishes, but it's almost like sometimes the more you focus on that, the more you kind of stumble, right? I don't know. Whenever I'm really obsessed with the idea of like, I'm not doing the right things, I'm gonna teach my daughter something in the wrong order and she's gonna blame me forever and I'm a bad mom and, whatever. I made a mistake, I said the wrong thing, I have a reaction that shouldn't be so, annoyed or upset or whatever, right? And the more you obsess about it, now you should be, hopefully anyways, aware. Self-aware, right? Like, okay, mommy needs to say sorry, or mommy needs to take a little break, or let's stop and rewind and let's do it over. Let's try it again, and so I feel like for you, there's really this feeling of, I don't want to be a bad parent. And I feel like you really can get down on yourself about how you raised your kids, how you were raised, and so this really, it leads me to believe that you are working through some of this childhood stuff, right? That you are also probably working through the parenting part of your life. Right? I don't know if you're still parenting, right? I mean, we never stop, right? But if you're in the thick of it, or if your kids are a little older, maybe they're adults and they have their own families. But I feel like for whatever reason, something is stirred up in you. Maybe it began reminiscing and then it started to feel kind of heavy and heavier. So I do think that within your greater life cycle, you are at that childhood, inner child healing, examining some of these root things of your life and getting some of that stuff integrated, right? Making it something that is useful to you rather than kind of like tied around your neck, right? And you're carrying all this heavy stuff and it's brutal. And it's brutal. With the swords, I believe that you are really coming to this work with a very clear mind. Okay? Now, there's also seems to be some kind of love connection with a Taurus person. I don't believe this is your primary person. Now, it maybe was at one point, but this might be like they're coming up, you know, in your mind once in a while. You might start thinking about that first or second love, you know. But it is a Taurus, and I do believe a Capricorn and a Taurus, that might, I don't know. I mean, I feel like you could run things for a Taurus, right? They probably need a lot of help with their like business stuff and the, you know, just like paying the bills on time and that kind of thing. But I can't imagine, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments. What is it like as a Capricorn to be with a Taurus person? Good, bad, you know. I am a Capricorn rising, and I was married to a Taurus person when I was younger. He passed away, unfortunately, and he was such a wonderful person, great artist, well, I didn't even great, amazing artist, and yeah, very frustrating at times, not very organized. So I feel like in my mind, I'm like, okay, if I was a straight up solar Capricorn, I don't think I could deal with a solar Taurus, at least the Taurus male, right? So I don't know what it is, but there's a heavy bond here, a heavy bond. Now, it looks to me like you've had the runaround about some kind of money that needs to be paid, or maybe you have a business and a client hasn't paid, or I don't, like there's a debt that hasn't been paid, something like this. But I feel like for you, it's frustrating. I feel like it's like a headache upon a headache. And I feel like you can get into a place where you start to be kind of cranky. I feel like just losing any patience, right? You can get really sharp with the tongue. And so I think that with this, especially about money and resources and stuff, you know, about the actual situation, I don't know. I have no advice, but making sure that you are coming from a place of mindfulness, being centered, you know, do all the things that help, you know, meditation, breath work, going for a walk, taking a cool shower if you're angry, right? Bring down the temperature of your body a little bit. Writing, journaling, you know, so on and so forth. There's a lot of different practices, but I think that that's going to be important for you, because it is, you are doing work within the childhood childhood sector and the inner child, and also the mother wound, which can be one of the most painful parts of the individuation process. But it leads me to believe that you are trying to figure out how to kind of change how you react to things, how you behave when you're upset or feeling neglected or abandoned or wronged or maybe dismissed or whatever you may have felt in relationship to your mother and the process of being raised. That definitely comes out in all of the ways that you interact with the world. And so, yes, when we get to this part of individuation, it can be very tricky. It can be very painful. And so I feel like it's really important that you are doing those kind of stabilizing and clearing out the energies and all of the practices that kind of just allow you to feel how you feel, but also be a partner with yourself in self-soothing and I wanted to say controlling your body, but that's not really what it is. It is controlling your breath, right? And that then is like a chain reaction, and it will definitely begin to bring you into a more relaxed state if you're doing, especially the breath work. I think that's so foundational for mindfulness in general. So definitely important. I think this is a time that if you don't have mindfulness practices, I would go on the Google machine or one of the other ones and look it up. Even things like through CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, or DBT is another one that's really great. They have a lot of literature. Now, I'm not saying you have to do these therapies. They're both great. Definitely, I've done both more than once. But they're written about extensively, and there are so many different like manuals and workbooks and whatever. So it's a good place to find those kinds of resources. Okay. All right. So we have number 69 as our first one. First lucky number. Now we have number 31. 82. Number 82. All right. And we're going to do our inner child oracle cards. Okay, and we have number 12. Emotions are the reflection. Look for deeper meaning. Look for the deeper meaning. And I think this is exactly what we've been talking about. Looking for those strands of memory, of, well, just kind of things that we identify with, the long roots that keep us, you know, kind of attached to what we perceive as our identity. And sometimes, yeah, we have to, in our life, stop and really investigate, especially if you're having, you know, pain or trouble or depression or, you know, whatever it is. That's really us, our body, our psyche, our emotional sphere telling us, hey, something needs to be looked at here, right? Okay, so we're going to flip through. These are our indigo sage affirmation cards, and they're so beautiful. Look at that. 21, miracles, self-healer. Trust that every unwanted condition can be returned to natural well-being. There we go. Perfect timing. All right, Capricorn, I'm going to go ahead and tell you I love you because I do. And I want to thank you for spending this time with me. It's always such an honor. And if you want to like, subscribe, or leave a comment, I would love to hear from you. Other than that, I'm going to say again, I love you. Take care of yourself. We'll talk in a few days. Good night, good night, good night.